Hello. So today is going to be a short one while I am working on something a little... how do I put it? Would insane be the right word? I know we've also got the whole Serato TLC that we could cover, but I've really not got much to say about it, to be honest, as... Well, in order to use the interesting parts of it, it is extremely conditional, and I have not had many chances to actually get use out of those interesting parts of it. So that's gonna take a little bit of time to actually, get my full thoughts on that. But either way, we've got a fun little fight over at the river, where I'm kind of just trying to showcase the power of utility versus just raw stats. But with all that out of the way, I hope you all enjoy. So for this one, we got a little bit of a ramp. But before we actually get into the actual fight, let's go over this little funny clip right here.
Yeah, it's on the ramp right
and
now.
I'm just kind of getting into character right here.
Mine. Why is the pig? Why are they fighting each other?
Yeah, it's almost like that clip of two cats that are looking at each other, and then a crow comes along and starts pecking at one of the cats, and then all of a sudden, the cats just start fighting each other instead of, pushing away the crow. I found it funny at least. Anyway, what we have here is a funny little fight over by the river. Anyway, what we have here is Siblet on Latin, Gusa on his Tyranno Titan because he's obsessed with it, and Elite is playing his Metri. Along with me, then, of course, I'm on Ramph, because Ramph OP. So Sib ended up calling out that there was 2 Tyranno Titans and a Rex over by the river, but it seems they also had a baby Spino with them. So I start off with doing what I know to do best with Ramph, and that's to be as annoying as possible.
Well, I jumped on one of the Titans. A Rex came over, and so I just jumped onto the other Titan.
So I have no idea what the Rex is doing. I guess
I'm just sitting
messing
on it.
around with the Spino in the water. Either way, I'm plaguing these Titans now, and I guess they don't like it very much.
I have no idea. But, they don't like me being pounced.
Now, I've been doing this with Ram for quite a while, in terms of this little trick you're about to see. So, you can see right now, I pounced on this Titan, and I'm plaguing it. And so, the trick right here is that you can actually swap spots on whatever you're pounced to, by jumping off and repouncing it immediately after jumping. And you can end up with funny moments like this.
Ha! They ate their friend!
So, not long after that, they end up deciding to move away from the river and start moving maybe towards Crater for food.
They ate their friend again! Yes, armor buff will help you against the plague, yes.
They eventually end up regrouping and start making their way towards where, they might be able to get some food, all while still being plagued. And because I'm where they are the entire time, it's giving Gusa information of, their whereabouts. Though as Gusa continues to stalk them, they eventually ended up looking behind them, and they spotted him. And let's just say, they must have been hungry enough to just immediately start sprinting in a straight line using so much stamina and also popping their armor calls before they even reached Gusa and had taken any damage. And so Gusa just led them on a goose chase. Haha, you see what I did there? All while Elite on his Metri is doing little pokes here and there, just chipping at them slowly. All that I really need to worry about right now is just plaguing them and slowing down their stamina regen. Elite was the main one that could really do anything to separate them, since, he's the only one here that can actually do some damage. Though, once they did actually separate a little bit, that is when Gusa felt comfortable in trying to just apply some bleed to the green Tyrannotitan, spurring the red one into action, in which Gusa quickly decided to just run away from them again, giving me a lovely opportunity to decrease their bleed healing.
Yeah, they also just hit their friend.
Which, let's not forget, it cuts their bleed healing in half, giving Gusa just more and more time in which he can just make some distance and let the bleed do its work. Which, safe to say, kind of forced them to just stand still. And if any of them try to do anything like sitting, I just fly over to them, give them a quick pounce and jump off, just to say, hey, no stamina for you. But the green Tyranno, I think, noticed what we were doing, and so they just tried to rush Gusa. But Gusa, he's just playing it smart, keeping his distance and letting the bleed do his work, especially with all the reduced bleed healing that me and now Siblet has shown up to apply onto the Tyrannotitan. Along with, of course, the little pokes and jabs that Elite is doing on his Metri. But with the stacking of bleed heal reduction that we have applied onto this green Tyrannotitan, it ended up pulling the red one away from Gusa. I guess just to help out this green one. Though Elite, as I said a few times already, he's doing a marvelous job of just keeping them separated and distracted. And now at this point, for some reason, there is a random baby conch that has joined the fray and has just started applying more bleed to these Tyrannotitans. And they're trying to slowly make their way back towards the river. Gusa has just continued watching from the distance. He hasn't really had to do much. Most of his work has been done for him at this point, but he ends up seeing the Rex that's about to intervene, and he bursts into action. Or should I say, at least, pulling the Rex away from us while we continue our work on the Tyrannotitans. He can now engage in the part of the game that he enjoys, an actual fight, though not without a little bit of help.
Gusa, let me buff you.
A nice little 20% extra damage doesn't hurt, but you know what does hurt? Being under a Rex's feet once it stomps, which is what happened to the Concavinator. But that Rex is pretty damn hurt, which ended up spurring the red Tyrannotitan to come over and help. Though with Elite still jabbing and poking at the Rex, it ends up spurring the Rex to do a stomp in which they end up hitting their own Tyrannotitan, right before Elite ends up just finishing it off. And while all that was going on, the green Tyrannotitan was just trying its best to make it to the river, still bleeding the entire time, while me and Sib are continuing to just reduce their bleed healing.
Damn, how that turned around, hey? Oh!
So we ended up leaving Gusa alone with the red Tyrannotitan, while we just kept this one bleeding the entire time. I think they wanted to make it to the water, just so that when Elite ended up showing up, it would be a little bit more difficult and a little bit more dangerous for him to pull anything off.
Oh, did you kill the other Titan? Oh, cool.
So this green Tyrannotitan is the sole survivor out of their group, and they're still bleeding the entire time. When I looked at the replay, they were only at about, 10% health. When they ended up starting to run from the area, they were at around 50% health. That there is the power of bleed heal reduction. Because they're in the water right now, Siblet would not be able to pounce them and actually get out of the situation alive, though thankfully that does not stop a Ramp.
He's still bleeding. Yeah.
And if you're wondering why I'm still saying pounced instead of just refreshing the scab picker buff, it's because the plague itself also affects bleed heal reduction. Though, I think they planned ahead for that, because I had to actually fly off and they decided to sit down, so I tried to just pounce them again.
Oh, I love that.
Path of Titan's hitboxes at their finest, and so each time they sit, to reduce their bleed, I pounce them again to stop them from doing so, which gives Elite enough time to come over and also make it so that it's not so safe for them to do that anymore.
Mate, stop trying to sit.
And so, at this point, a random Sarko ends up showing up. I thought it was a switch at the time, just from the fact that as it showed up, the first thing it went for was Elite. Though those thoughts were immediately dispelled, as all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they decided to switch their targets towards the Tyranno Titan.
Oh wait, no, he's aiming for the Titan.
So that was actually quite a surprise to me. But hey, it ended up working pretty well in terms of pushing this Tyranno Titan from the water, in which Gusa was on his way anyway.
Aw.
I gotta give it to them. They played me like an absolute fiddle there. So I've got no more Lucky Feather that I can use, but thankfully, Sibla is just trying to pounce it, and yeah, this Tyranno Titan is on around less than 5% health. And with them still being in the range of a lunging Sarko, they can't really afford to just stick around here right now. Especially with Elite here on his Metri, just adding more and more pressure, although right now he's mainly just giving openings for Sibla to actually get a pounce to finish off the Titan. But here is where a Pycno ended up showing up, and immediately went for Elite, and when I checked, it was the Rex. They switched to Pycno. Though while Elite was dealing with that, Sibit ended up landing a pounce on the Tyranno Titan and ended up finishing it off, leaving Elite to practically just face tank the Pycno.
Yeah, I think this Pycno is using Juggernaut. Wait, did you kill the Sarko? Oh. You monster, mate.
Yep. While we were finishing off the Tyranno Titan and Pycno, the Sarko had walked onto land to maybe get a piece of the action, but they didn't notice that Gusa was making his way towards it. And safe to say, a Sarko on land to a Tyranno Titan is practically just food. A big, long sausage. Though, Gusa, did you have to really teabag them afterwards? Come on. Now, would you like to guess how many slots this group was? Let's count, shall we? So we have the Tyranno Titan at 5 slots, the Metri at 3 slots, the Ramp at 1 slot, and the Latin at 1 slot. So we just filled one group with the max amount of slots, which is 10 for this game. You can have interesting groups with, a good amount of numbers. In this case, we only had really one big damage dealer, and yet, it ended up overcoming a group of 3 big damage dealers, all through the power of utility and communication. This is why I enjoy Ramp so much, because I love utility over just raw damage, just smack something hard and hope that it dies faster than you, right? I've always just enjoyed the fights where you're actually using tools and mechanics over just, stats, just to try and win fights. I think it's just way more interesting to me, personally. Whether it's buffing, debuffing, crowd control, you get what I mean. They're tools that come from not very statistically strong things that can help you pull out an edge in a fight. The only difference is you cannot rush those fights. And so here we are at the end. I can't lie, I found it kind of funny that in my last video, I ended up asking at the beginning of the video, is anyone desperate for some new a new update or some new content or anything like that? And then all of a sudden they released the Serra TLC, right? How the hell does that happen? I wouldn't be able to guess. Either way, I'll be working on, the thing that I teased at the beginning of this video after this, and then after that, I've also still got to try and grab a bunch of Serra footage with the actual interesting stuff that came to Serra. All I can say about Serra from reading, how it's gone with its TLC is it seems very, very suited towards realism servers. That's all I can say. But those of you who have played a good amount of Serra and got a gist of it, let me know your thoughts on it. I would love to know. I'm also really, really hoping that they end up bringing out the engine update sometime soon, and hopefully they end up actually fixing replay mode. Not just, the bugs with attacks or anything like that, but the actual map rendering and blending as well. Because I've been wanting to do a refresher to my replay guide that I made in the past, but replay has just gotten more and more broken, but I understand it's so much better now. But with all that out of the way, I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye.
P.S. I got more screenshots than usual for this one. I hope you like them.